Hello and welcome to Transformation Tuesday. I am your host, Certified Health Coach John Garcia. If you're watching live, today is Tuesday, January 21st. I'm in Florida and we're in the middle of a winter blast. It's so funny because today's low is 53 degrees and tomorrow's low is going to be 44 degrees with the wind chill in the 30s, and everybody is freaking out. I lived in New Jersey for 35 years, so that doesn't scare me, but I'll tell you the truth, your blood thins out and it feels cold, and it's embarrassing really. 44 degrees in New Jersey was like spring, in the middle of winter. Although times have changed a lot. I see different, I'm looking at the apps and I'm looking at weather in New York, and sometimes it's 60 degrees in January, unheard of things. But anyway, I think we'll survive because the winter is only supposed to last 2 days, as it usually does here in Florida. We get like 2 days in January and maybe a couple of days in February. We are going on a little trip to North Carolina at the end of the month, so that should be real winter weather. I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, welcome to Transformation Tuesdays, and today I'm going to continue on the goal setting, theme that we've been setting here in the beginning of January of 2020, new year, new decade, new you, hopefully. And last week I spoke about SMART goals. The first week, 2 weeks ago, we spoke about, setting new habits. Drinking water is one of my favorite new habits that I've been doing now for a couple of years. And then those habits, making them goals, right? Because if you make the habit a goal, you're much more likely to attain it than if you just say, I want to eat better, I want to exercise more, I want to lose weight, and so on. So last week I gave you an acronym called SMART, and it was specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed, right? That's the acronym. It's been around for a long time, and a lot of people use it to help them set goals. And then as I was describing the steps last week, I kind of caught myself going, something's missing, something's missing. And I did mention off the bat, like, I'm not myself the best at following a formula for setting goals, but there's no doubt that changing my career from a marketer and an advertiser to what I want to do full-time as a health coach, definitely required me to set some goals, right? Like I had to set a goal of getting a certification. You can't just legally, or you can't arbitrarily just health coach because you're a nice guy and you know about health. There was a lot I needed to learn, and I had to get a certification. So I had to research that, research the schools, research the different programs, find out the cost, find ways to pay it. So there was a lot involved in achieving that goal. And so SMART, specific, I wanted to be a health coach. Measurable, I guess, get the degree. Attainable, study the courses. Relevant, that's what I wanted. Timed, depending, I guess, on the course. I mean, it's simple, and yes, you can use it to set a goal, but it still leaves a lot of work to be done. You can set a SMART goal and just still be kind of not lost in the weeds, but still not sure where to start or where to go. So I wanted to come up with something that took it to the next level. Not only set the goal, but achieve the goal, right? What is it that's going to, actually have to happen in order for you to achieve the goal? Now, I want to, go through this, and then I want to kind of write down my own goals that I want to use this program for, and even some goals that I'm helping other people with, and my role in those goals and using this program with. So the first thing I thought about was the name, right? I'm always about the name. That's my marketing hat, and I always think about the name first. So I wanted a name that automatically kind of hit you right between the eyes and didn't kind of pussyfoot around what needs to happen. A SMART goal, okay, it needs to be smart. And, you go through that acronym, and I guess, okay, it's a SMART goal. But this goal is what you reap is what you sow. right? A reap and sow goal. A little bit of a tongue twister. But, I thought about that name because I think with goals and with habits, these are things that we can control. There's a lot of things that you sow that you don't necessarily reap. You could sow love and kindness and not necessarily get that in return. You could sow hard work and dedication and still get fired or laid off and things like that. You're not necessarily in control of all those circumstances. But if you want to set a habit as a goal, or if you just have other goals that you're trying to achieve, and you set these goals and you work a program, there's a much higher likelihood, right, of achieving the goals, especially if you have an accountability partner than if you don't. So some definitions of reap and sow that I printed, I thought I'd like. It says your actions dictate the consequences. We're all about aligning behaviors to beliefs and action steps and your transformations in the action. And I love this. Your actions dictate the consequences, and I would say your lack of actions also dictate the consequences. Another definition is you suffer or benefit as a result of your own actions. Again, it's about your actions. Here's another one. You will eventually have to face up to the consequences of your actions. So especially in health and wellness, like maybe we don't always reap what we sow. Like I said before, life is funny sometimes and things just happen sometimes. But when it comes to health and wellness, if you're sowing Coca-Cola and chicken wings and hot dogs and burgers and pizza, and you're sowing that a lot, and that's what you're kind of, eating throughout the week, and you're not exercising, what do you think you're going to reap? And so many people get to a place where they finally suddenly realize, like, my God, I'm very unhealthy. And it's like, what did we expect? I say we because I was in the same boat in the same place. And, no one forces food in your mouth. No one forces you to sit on the couch. These are things that become habits and that we subconsciously do. And then next thing you know, we're in a bad place. So it's eventually facing up to the consequences of your actions. In health and wellness, we see it with diabetes and obesity and just so many chronic illnesses. And chronic illnesses, 9 out of 10 of them, most of them are based on behaviors and behavioral things that cause that to happen. So you reap what you sow. That's why we have the name of the reap and sow goals. So I want to go through each letter, right? So it's an acronym. And also before I do that though, I did want to also create an image with the goal, and this image is a target, which may not be completely unique, but I think it's important to picture a bullseye, and the result is right in the middle, right? So we're shooting at this, and we're gonna shoot all around it sometimes, but the more we focus on the result and why we want the result, the more likely we are to achieve the goal. So I also wanted to, have something that you could picture, and with the bullseye, I think it's a great, something to go with the name. All right. So if anyone is live on the call, I'm just going to keep kind of going through the webinar today. But I do want to, I guess I'll just put it out there. If you have a goal that you are shooting for in 2020, maybe you could write it down. I could help hold you accountable to it. We could work through these reap and sow steps together. All right. So starting with number 1, R is results. So I love this because Stephen Covey is my number 1 guy. God bless him and rest in peace. But Stephen Covey, one of his goals of the 7 habits of highly effective people is start with the end in mind. So you're really getting a picture of what you want that result to be. And my results is quickly followed by why you want those results, right? What's the why beneath the why? Why do you want that result? Why is that important to you? What will having that do for you? That has to be very closely related to the result. I am going to write some of these goals down for myself, and one of them is I have to gain about 6 pounds of muscle, and not because I want to be Mr. Muscle Man, but actually my body is low on muscle. So it's just one of the health markers that aren't where they need to be for me. And I know it's a struggle. At 50, muscle mass is not the same, and muscle growth is not the same. So I have those additional challenges. But I've been working out now for about 4 years, and muscle has I've never really added much muscle. So I need to change some things up. I need to, my result is pretty simple: 6 pounds of muscle. And why is nothing to do with vanity, nothing to do with how I look or don't look. It's a health marker that I need to improve to get really just to average of a person my age. So I'm a little below there. So again, you want to put the goal down as put the goal down and what that result is. So I have a blank, notepad here. Health goal: 6 pounds of muscle. Um, so that's my result, and my why is, part of my health and wellness lifestyle. Being healthy and being on the right number for my age. All right. Um, the next letter in REAP is E, and that's events. So, I called it events, and obviously has to be an E, and I played around with different words. But an event is like a, big thing. Like you don't just, if you're going to an event, you get excited about it. Usually there's a lot of fanfare. Usually there's just a lot of commotion, or events are exciting, and I wanted it to be exciting. The next thing in my journey here, in my goal, after I put my result on my why, what events need to happen on my way there? So I need to, I really think I need to work with a personal trainer. So I'm going to write that down, research, meet, whatever, local gyms, talk to personal trainers. I want to also do my own studying about maybe gaining muscle after 50, because I know it's a little different than, I don't want a personal trainer who's 21 years old. He's just not going to get me. I want a guy who's in my peer group, is doing it for himself, and I can learn from. Other events could be maybe joining some kind of competition, right? That maybe it's for men my age, again, peers that are doing the kind of things that are, obviously resulting in muscle growth. Real events, real competitions. Maybe there's a peer group. Maybe there's a meetup. Maybe there's, other communities that I can be a part of. So these are things that I'm going to write down as events that I want to be part of, and they should excite me. They should encourage my journey. They should be motivating factors to achieving the goal. So if you were, let's say, planning an event, the events would be all of the big things that are part of the event. So is there going to be a speaker? What hotels? What are the ticket prices? Accommodations, travel, meals, the itinerary. All those things would be events or milestones or things that you need to accomplish along this journey. And don't worry about the timeline yet. Just write them all down. Right now, you're just kind of writing down the big hurdles or the big challenges or the big events that need to happen in order for you to achieve that goal. No time order yet. Now in A, we talk about actions or activities. So now we want to break down those goals down. So if it's a speaker, the activity is obviously, if back to planning an event, if I'm going to hire a speaker, well, my activity is reach out to the speaker, email the speaker, send the speaker a contract, negotiate terms, the place, all same thing. A lot of these, if it's an event that you're planning, a lot of them are similar detailed or similar activities. So at that point, you're still not putting it in your planner. You're still not putting, a timeline to it. You just, under each one of the big activities, or under the big events, all of the different activities, all the different action steps that need to happen in order for you to achieve that event, right? So for me, the personal trainer, I'm going to go to different gyms. I'm going to interview different guys. I'm going to go online and see different rates. I'm going to see about my schedule. Maybe they have, schedules that work with me. So some of them maybe aren't available at certain times. So all of these activities, I'm going to just kind of write them down again, but under each event. This is much more thorough than a SMART goal. Like a SMART goal, specific, yes, measurable. Okay, I'm still at point one here where I said, gain 6 pounds of muscle weight. Attainable, like it was vague. Now we're really getting into the nitty gritty. We saw the end result. We put some big milestones, events that need to happen. We put all of the details of each one of those events, all of the activities that need to take place in order to get those events to happen. So this picture is much more defined. It's much more clear. Clarity, obviously eliminates confusion. When you take off on a journey or a goal and you're confused, really confused about it, obviously you're much more likely to fall off course, to not get back on course. You really, the end in mind is great, but now you start putting all of these parts together and it starts to fit like a puzzle. And as that puzzle comes together, you get to the next step, and that's the planner. All right, you take out the calendar and you start plotting these things in the calendar. So if I want 6 pounds of muscle, I don't know. I haven't never tried this really like this before, but I'm gonna say a pound of muscle a month. I'm gonna Maybe that's too easy on myself, or maybe that's counterproductive in some way. I don't know. That's where I'm going to start. Or as far as as part of this, webinar tonight, I'm just for sake of example, I'm going to say 1 pound a month. So we're in January. It's middle January. So middle of June, John has 6 pounds of muscle on, more pounds. um, so now these things that were events, I want to plot those in first. So, contacting a personal trainer, that's easy. I could do that next week. And then going online, I'm going to do that maybe the week after because I want to compare something. The communities, maybe by the end of the next month, I want to get a support group and then start maybe, events. I want to wait a little bit longer, be in my rhythm, be doing this, and then I think I may be ready for an event. So I'm going to plot the biggies down first, and then again look at the activities or the action steps for each one and start plotting them down. So one of the best ways to do this is to work backwards. So if middle of June is my target date, what needs to happen, the month before? And I was saying this example with a SMART goal, but the SMART goal doesn't really have a space for that. It doesn't really have a space for the actual planning. There's no planning in SMART. It's just setting the goal. So we're taking it a step further. We set the events or the milestones, all the activities and the action steps, and now you're plotting it in the calendar. So this is the real deal, because here's where you look at it and say, really, is this possible? Is it attainable? How do you know if it's attainable unless you do all of this? And there's no doubt that you're going to miss some things because you've never done it before. And there's things that are going to come up as you're going through the journey that you didn't know were going to be necessary. So it does need to be a little bit flexible, and that's what kind of the next three. So the first four are kind of like the planning and the grunt work and just, really taking it from just an idea to the paper to a plan. Now the next three are really what supports the plan, and that's what S is in SO. It's support. So support is an accountability partner, someone that you can turn to for support, someone in this journey that can help me. So I have a couple of cousins that are real big and strong, and they could definitely give me some pointers, maybe point me in the right direction with a trainer or a gym, the community groups, the events, all that kind of stuff. Maybe there's someone that I know that can help me with this. I got a couple of buddies right here online, I won't say any names, but there's definitely guys that are killing this and that can help me out. But support is also tools and resources. So if you are planning an event, back to that scenario, maybe there's a planning tool that you can use. Maybe for your marketing pieces or your flyers, maybe there's a design website like Canva that you can do yourself, or maybe you outsource it to Fiverr, right? Fiverr or Upstart. So what can you delegate? How can you get support? Are there pieces of this that you can delegate? Are there pieces of this that maybe you don't have to reinvent the wheel? There's an app out there, there's a website out there, there's something that you could just plug and play and have a turnkey system. and it's going to help you a great deal. Obviously, improve your productivity and cut down on the time. So once you have that, plan out on a calendar, look at the big chunks and look at where you can get support, look at where you can delegate, look at where you can outsource, right? Now we're really moving forward. So now this thing is it's going to happen one way or the other. Now, happen can also be fail, because, you succeed by failing. We succeed by failing, and people don't like to hear that, but it's the missteps that the lessons are there. It's the missteps that teach us, where we went right or wrong, right? So the next letter in reap and sow is the O, and that's optimize. So I'll put a copy of this on the Facebook page so you can download it. It'll also be in the email next week, so you can have a copy of it and you can print it out. But optimize is at the end of the week, looking at your plan and seeing where you can make improvements, right? So you're optimizing it. You're taking, the parts that didn't work so well, asking yourself why, and then how can they be worked better. So it's just so important in a goal, because a lot of times what happens is we avoid this and we say, we'll just make it up next week, right? And then it happens again and it happens again. Now all of a sudden I'm in month 5 out of 6. And instead of having, let's say, 5 pounds of muscle weight at that point, I have 1, right? And it's because I didn't take the time each week to look at what I was doing and see if it was moving me towards the goal. It's super important to continually revisit the goals. You don't set it and forget it. And I said this with the SMART goals last week as well. But again, there's nothing in the SMART goal. Time bound is the last one. But what does that mean? If you don't optimize weekly, then you don't know if you're on time, if you're on target. You just probably know when it's too late. You just probably know when you say it's not going to happen. And that's a bad feeling. Like, nobody wants to be there. So, any good journey is going to be, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, whatever that's fine. That's all part of growth and learning. But if you're not looking at why that's happening, then you can't optimize it and you can't improve it, and you most likely are not going to achieve the goal. And then finally, W is, back to the why. I called it worthwhile. It could be the why. But here I am, let's say 3 months later, and it's still important to me to gain the 6 pounds of muscle, but there's 2 other real big things on my plate, that I really, really, really know that I have to get to. And this extra hour or 2 maybe that I've been dedicated to this muscle gaining is just not fitting with my most important, most passionate purpose, identity defining things that I want to achieve. So after you optimize and after you kind of like rework that plan or get into it, you really just then take a second step at looking at it and say, is this really still aligning, my behaviors to my beliefs? In 6 months, a lot can change. And in 6 months, it may not be a priority for me anymore. And that's okay, people. There's goals and things that we start off on, and, either because of things that happen in life or because of changing priorities, it's not worthwhile anymore. You could set out to learn French, like one example that I heard, and the guy's spending a lot of time learning French, and then he realizes, I'm never going to use French. I'm putting all the time into it, and yeah, it's fine and good, but I'd rather learn Spanish because I live in Miami and I need to know Spanish. So really, it kind of comes full circle there, because results, remember, are connected to the why. So when you get to the W and so, it's the worthwhile, the why. You're still there, you're still connected. Is it still making sense? So that's my reap and sow goal worksheet and program. So it's goal setting and achieving method. As a health coach, we want to help you change habits. It's the most important thing we want to do. And what I do is, kind of give you tools and resources and information so that you kind of have like almost like a tool belt, right? So now you have this you have the SMART goals if you want to use that, and it works for you fine. But now you have this reap and sow goal in your, your Batman, your belt. And it's about options. It's about options that maybe you didn't have before to help you focus, help you get organized, help you see the big picture, start with the end in mind, and that's really all we're doing here. So it's just another tool for you to have and use. If you do use it, please let me know. Let me know a goal that you set as a Reap and Sow goal, and if you could list the steps. I mean, I would love to show the example at some webinar down the road. If you have any questions on the Reap and Sow, my email is john@UpLevel Living. You can always comment on Facebook. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. A couple of minutes early on my half hour tonight, so uh, I'm giving you back 5 minutes. um, enjoy your night. Thank you so much. Bundle up. Tomorrow's going to be freezing. Good night, everybody.